Rachel Zegler wasn't supposed to end up like this, playing to rows of empty seats in one of London's most iconic theaters. Just a year ago, she was hailed as Hollywood's next Golden Girl.
Snow White flopped because of her expressing her political views, even though her co-star, who I shall not name, also had shared her political views. She still got invited to the Met Gala, but she will not be attending.
Review. This wasn't just a quiet opening night. It's an ongoing disaster. The Palladium, a venue that once sold out legends like Julie Andrews and Andrew Lloyd Webber, can't even fill a third of its seats for Rachel. Character?
Our rights are on the line, folks.
Bitch! The right to buy Cosby sweaters?
How did we get here? From Oscar buzz to industry punchline, Rachel's descent has been faster than anyone could have predicted. And here's the twist. It's not about talent. It's about timing, attitude, and one colossal misstep that still haunts her every move.
This movie was like you took the original Snow White and just put everything through this filter of liberalism.
Her words about Snow White didn't just spark backlash. They lit a match under her entire career. But what happened next would shatter the illusion Hollywood had built around her.
Do you really want to have an actor that gets involved with your movie that constantly brings up politics and then does it even inside of the advertising and the marketing of the career?
Rachel Zegler's rise was engineered to be flawless. After West Side Story, she had the perfect setup. A Golden Globe win, a contract with Disney, and the title role in Snow White. But instead of riding that momentum, she fumbled it. During press interviews, Rachel didn't just promote the film, she dismantled it. She mocked the 1937 original, called the prince a stalker, and dismissed the story's romance as outdated. For a character that generations grew up loving, her comments felt like betrayal. Fans weren't outraged because she had an opinion. They were outraged because it felt like she had no respect for the legacy. Disney was selling nostalgia, but Rachel was selling rebellion.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story.
And the audience wasn't buying. Even before the film's release, memes, edits, and rage-filled comment sections took over. People weren't talking about the movie. They were talking about how much they didn't want to see her in it.
And a lot of this is due to her behavior leading up to the film's release.
But the backlash was just beginning. Evita was supposed to be her redemption, a live stage performance to prove that Rachel was more than just internet drama. But when the curtain rose, the audience didn't. The London Palladium seats 2,286 people. On paper, that's a dream stage. In reality, it's become a visual metaphor for her stalled career. According to public booking data, over 70% of seats remain unsold, night after night. Prices slashed to €29. Can't even pull in tourists. Even the premium rows, the ones industry insiders usually rush for, sit hauntingly empty. Theater doesn't lie. You can't edit turnout. You can't PR spin an empty house. And while Rachel still shows up, still performs, the silence echoes louder than applause.
Brilliant in casting because, as Rachel Zegler says, her millions of fans will line up no matter what she does to see her.
Reports claim the show pulled in $4 million before her casting. But if that's true, why are front row seats still available weeks out? Reddit threads are already dissecting the numbers, speculating that the pre-sale hype was nothing more than a smokescreen. And what happened next would rattle the entire fandom. Here's where things get even stranger. On TikTok and Instagram, Rachel Zegler is being praised for her Met Gala appearance, hailed as elegant, graceful, even iconic. But just scroll a little further, and you'll see the brutal disconnect. While Rachel's photos gather compliments, her co-star Gal Gadot, who kept quiet during Snow White's controversy, is the one getting dragged. Why? No one really knows. It's like the internet flipped reality. In real life, Rachel's theater seats are empty. Her movie bombed. But online, the PR machine is still trying to make her a star, and that's the trap.
And Disney decided to hire the most insufferable girl boss narcissist that exists on Earth, who hates Snow White.
The movie companies are going to look at her and they're going to say box office poison.
A perfectly curated image versus a collapsing career. When we checked the official Evita ticket site, the truth hit hard. Rows upon rows of unsold seats, stretching across June, July, and August. It's not a one-night blunder. It's a trend, one that says the online praise is just noise. Real support? Nowhere to be found. And this wasn't just about Snow White anymore. When Disney tapped Rachel Zegler for Snow White, they weren't just casting a lead, they were betting the future of their live-action strategy on her. But that gamble went up in flames. Despite crossing $200 million at the box office, the film is still considered a flop. Why? Because Disney allegedly spent close to $600 million on production, marketing, and reshoots. That's not just a loss, that's a crater. The backlash was so intense, they reportedly shelved their live-action Tangled remake before it could spark the same outrage. And the Florence Pugh casting rumor didn't help. Fans immediately pushed back, calling her too old to play Rapunzel, and questioning whether Disney even understood its own audience anymore. It's clear now. Audiences aren't interested in politicized princesses. They want heart, magic, and authenticity, not lectures. And Rachel, whether she meant to or not, became the face of everything they're rejecting. What started as a casting controversy exploded into a full-blown brand crisis. Here's the truth no one in Hollywood wants to admit. You can't manufacture a connection. Studios can pour millions into promo tours, magazine covers, red carpet appearances, but if the audience doesn't feel it, it doesn't matter. Rachel Zegler is the perfect example. Despite her talent, despite her voice, something isn't clicking. Fans aren't connecting, they're recoiling. And it's not just about the roles she takes, it's about how she talks about them. In interviews, she comes off cold, dismissive, and detached from the fans who actually made these stories iconic. A fan who saw her live in Romeo and Juliet admitted she was incredible on stage, but her vibe off stage? Distant. Not rude, not mean, just unapproachable. And in this industry, that's a problem. Because charisma matters. Presence matters. The biggest stars don't just deliver lines, they make audiences feel something. But Rachel's energy, her tone, the way she carries herself, it keeps building a wall instead of a bridge. And the next chapter of her career might depend on whether she can tear that wall down. And then came the quiet shade. Not from trolls, not from critics, but from inside the production itself. Gal Gadot, Rachel's Snow White co-star, recently gave an interview that didn't name names, but it didn't have to. She spoke about the lack of teamwork on set, about co-stars who didn't bring the same energy, about creative processes that felt exhausting instead of collaborative. Fans didn't need a roadmap. The implications were clear. Gal had stayed silent during the backlash. But now it's obvious she had her own frustrations. Behind the scenes, the production was reportedly chaotic, with reshoots, delays, and rising tension. Gal's words weren't just disappointment, they were confirmation. Rachel wasn't just at the center of the internet storm. She may have helped create the turbulence on set. And when your co-stars start pulling back, it's not just a PR issue anymore, it's a trust issue. One that follows you from one role to the next. And in Rachel's case, that fallout may have already begun. Now here's where the real damage shows. Not in headlines, not in hashtags, but in Hollywood's sudden silence. Rachel Zegler was everywhere for a while. Interviews, award shows, red carpets. But now, she's fading. No public cancellation, no dramatic fallout, just nothing. It's the industry's version of ghosting. Studios aren't announcing she's done. They're just not calling. No major roles, no new press tours, no buzz. And that says more than any public statement ever could. Even Steven Spielberg, who reportedly recommended Rachel for Snow White, has gone radio silent since the backlash. It's as if everyone who once backed her is waiting for the storm to pass, or hoping she just quietly exits stage left. Hollywood's bet didn't pay off, and instead of doubling down, they're pulling out. Because when a star stops drawing crowds, they stop getting chances. That's the brutal math of show business. And Rachel, once seen as the next face of Disney, is now learning what happens when the spotlight moves on. Hoot. The sad part? Rachel Zegler might actually be talented. In fact, most people who've seen her live agree. Her voice is incredible, her stage presence is real. But this was never just about talent. Stardom isn't earned in isolation. It's built on connection, timing, and public trust. And Rachel's biggest mistake wasn't a single bad comment. It was underestimating the audience. She forgot that fans don't just support actors for what they do, they support them for how they make them feel. When you mock the stories they grew up with, when your interviews feel like lectures, when you treat beloved classics like they're beneath you, people remember. And they disengage. That's why even Rachel's strongest performances can't fill a theater anymore. Because right now, her name doesn't evoke excitement. It evokes eye rolls, skepticism, and fatigue. The story she's telling may be powerful, but the story about her is overpowering it. And unless that changes, her roles will keep shrinking while someone else steps into the spotlight. So what's the real takeaway from Rachel Zegler's rapid rise and even faster fall? Simple. Hollywood can hand you the spotlight, but only the audience decides if you get to keep it. Rachel's journey is a cautionary tale of what happens when the hype doesn't match the heart. Studios tried to skip the natural buildup, fast-tracking her to fame without laying the foundation. They gave her the roles, the awards, the headlines, but they forgot one crucial step: letting the public choose her. And when fans didn't feel seen, respected, or understood, they pushed back, quietly, consistently, until the applause stopped altogether. Now, Rachel's not canceled, but she's clearly on pause. The industry is watching, the audience is waiting, and the next move is hers. Will she reconnect, reflect, and rebuild? Or will she fade into the long list of actors Hollywood tried to force, but audiences refused to follow? One thing's certain: talent opens the door, but humility keeps it open. And right now, Rachel's learning that the hard way, in the echo of every empty seat.